Well, it's that time of the year when the phone manufacturers would be coming up with their new flagship smartphones. Mobile World Congress is just around the corner, and like always, rumors have been doing the round about these new flagship smartphones. After all, there is no smoke without fire, so the rumors eventually do come true. So let's just go ahead and take a look at these flagship smartphones that we are expecting this year. Now, Sony will be announcing their new Xperia flagship smartphone in the coming months. We haven't really seen any cool upgrade after the Z1. There wasn't any interesting stuff that was happening with Xperia phones. But this time around, we can expect something really cool coming your way. Talking about the specs, it will have a Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 SoC, 4GB of RAM, 32GB storage, Cat 0.6 LTE connectivity, Bluetooth 4.1, a dedicated sound amplifier on board, and best of all, a wireless charging. And there's also news that Sony will let go of the flap on the micro USB port. Talking about the display, you'll have a 5.2-inch display with two versions. One would be a 1080p and the other one would be a QHD 1440p. And also, Sony intends to make those bezels smaller, which will make the size of the Xperia Z4 smaller than the Xperia Z3, which already exists in the market. Now, LG has never made it that big with their flagship smartphones, although they do have some really interesting smartphone under their belt. Now, not much is known about their next flagship smartphone, which is rumored to be called G4, but a recent benchmark leak suggests that it would be running on Snapdragon 810 SoC, 4GB RAM, 5.3-inch of 2K OLED display, and yes, it will have the same volume cum shutter release button at the back. Lollipop, it would be running on that, and the user interface would be somewhat similar to what we already saw on the LG G Flex 2. After the success of OnePlus One, yes, the phone that was sold only through invite and never really reached the people who wanted to buy it, and yes, that left many people quite frustrated. Top of the line specs and a price that was so low. Next phone from OnePlus would be, of course, OnePlus Two. And yes, as per rumors, it would be running on Snapdragon 810, 4GB of RAM, 5.5-inch of 2K display, and a 3300 mAh battery. Another important thing would be that OnePlus would be launching it with their own ROM based on Android Lollipop. Now, again, power-packed specs and price expected to be very lucrative, and I just hope that if they intend to go the same way, they intend to sell it the same way on invite, I just hope that it reaches the right people. Next flagship smartphone is from HTC, the HTC One M9. It's been leaked by various sources and reported extensively. HTC One M9, codenamed Hima, is also expected in the coming months and expected to look as gorgeous as any other HTC's unibody aluminum design smartphone. Also, it's going to be a 5-incher 1080p of display. You can expect those boom sound speakers on the front, and yes, there is going to be no ultra pixel camera at the rear. You can have a 20 megapixel snapper because the ultra pixel camera comes in the front. That's your front facing camera. It will be powered by Snapdragon 810, 3GB of RAM, and yes, onboard storage of 32GB that can be expanded via micro SD card slot. And for a phone this bigger size, expect a large battery of 3000 mAh. Samsung Galaxy S6. Samsung has always a top-of-the-line spec list for its flagship smartphones, and the Galaxy S6 will be no different. Samsung Galaxy S6 is rumored to have a Qualcomm Snapdragon 810, but Samsung could just go with the Exynos 7420 SoC since early reports suggest Snapdragon 810 has heating issues. With either of those 64-bit processors on board, we might see a 4GB of RAM in the Galaxy S6. Design-wise, it would be same as the Galaxy Alpha and the Note 4, but we are not sure whether it would be a unibody metal frame or just metal trim. Samsung may also include 2K display to the smartphone, and more importantly, the same 16 megapixel camera with OIS, the one we saw on the Note 4. And last but not the least, Xiaomi. After releasing the Mi 4, you can expect the Mi 5 to be released this year. Expect the smartphone to have those super thin bezel and a striking design. Talking about the specs, you can have a 5.7-inch of QHD display. It would be running on 64-bit Snapdragon 805 SoC, 2GB of RAM, and a new 20.7 megapixel shooter. So these were the big 5 flagship smartphones that we're expecting this year. Of course, there would be plenty of things that would be announced at Mobile World Congress, and we'll keep you posted. So in the meantime, just visit our website digit.in.